Final project, take two. In this video, we'll take a look at two leaders, one in India and one in the US. Each of these men has risen to the top in very different ways, and each has or still does oversee a multinational conglomerate. Oh, and each of them is currently in their 80s. Let's begin with Ratan Tata. In a 2018 Business Maps of India article about Tata, we learn that he comes from a prominent Parisi business family who's never experienced any type of financial hardship. He's a highly educated businessman with degrees from Cornell and Harvard Business School, and his family founded the Tata Group in 1868. The group's executive leadership up until Ratan Tata's final retirement in 2017 was solely led by family members, with Ratan Tata holding the title of chairman of the more than 100 company conglomerate between 1991 and 2012, and again from 2016 to 2017. He was finally able to retire at 80. He's credited, according to a 2018 Encyclopedia Britannica article by Haller, with dramatically and aggressively expanding the group upon assuming leadership in 1991. On their website, Tata Group reveals they hold companies across the globe, with the majority prominently displaying the Tata name in nearly every possible category, like insurance, steel, power, IT, logistics, mining, aerospace, retail, and much more. The organization as a whole employs more than 700,000 people. Business Maps of India reports that much of Tata's organization was India-based up until the early 2000s, when he acquired Tetley Tea, Land Rover, and Jaguar. These acquisitions dramatically changed the direction of the group, as well as the source of revenue of this mega-billion-dollar company. Now, more than 65% of the group's revenue was coming from outside of India. Now let's turn our attention stateside to Warren Buffett, who at 87 years old is the longest-serving CEO in history, with more than 50 years at the helm of Berkshire Hathaway, the company he bought controlling interest of in 1965 when he was only 34. Berkshire Hathaway, under Buffett's reign, has dramatically grown to more than 60 subsidiary companies and more than 340,000 employees. Kennan shares in his 2018 biography about Buffett that this son of a stockbroker turned congressman began displaying an amazing aptitude for money and business at a very early age. At 6, he started his own business selling Coca-Cola to his classmates. At 11, he bought his first 3 shares of stock, and at 13, he filed his first tax return. When we review Tata's and Buffett's person, influence, power, and leadership, we don't really see very many similarities, and much of this is due to the familial and cultural differences. Tata was born and raised in India, a country that, according to Hofstede Insights, scores very high on the power-distance dimension, meaning employees in this culture accept unequal rights between power-privileged and those who are lesser. Control is familiar to them, and communication is always down and directive. There is some evidence that this legacy organization is working to integrate new power and leadership methodologies into its existing power base, but it appears it's only able to do so if they can control it. For example, Tata Group has its own management, leadership, and business excellence programs that fall in line with what the executive leadership at Tata wants to exemplify through and across all of their companies. There is very limited autonomy for leaders within this group. In a 2015 Fortune article by Lowenstein, we learn that Buffett exemplifies the individualistic American culture by refusing to get involved in the operations of the companies he buys. 3 major takeaways of Buffett's extremely successful leadership are: number 1, leave your managers alone. Number 2, kill bureaucracy, limit the layers. And 3, don't massage the stock price. Forget short-term thinking that does nothing for your shareholders in the long run. Lou defines power in his TED-Ed video, How to Understand Power, as the ability to make others do what you would have them do. Tata holds legitimate power, but he also demonstrates charismatic leadership. Satish Pradhan is quoted in a 2011 Economic Times article as saying, "A whisper from Tata can reach 5,000 decibels. He plays his role in a measured, gentle way." Buffett, on the other hand, demonstrates a more direct and collaborative approach to leadership of his conglomerate, and those leaders in acquired companies know they're safe because Buffett always plays for the long term and gives leaders near complete autonomy to run those companies. Sinek reminds us in his 2014 TED Talk that people who feel safe trust their leaders, which strengthens the organization. The great thing about Buffett is that he encourages safe failure, which Dom explains in his 2013 article 8 Tips for Empowering Employees as giving other leaders the opportunity to try things. Buffett's a long-term player, always encouraging innovation, but he makes sure he does it from a distance. While each of these leaders is inarguably successful and generous, each may have a potential self-destructive tendency or two that needs to be kept in check. For example, Tata comes from great prominence in the Indian culture. He's always been considered an elite. Having this much admiration among the Indian culture may have given him a false sense of being untouchable or having the ability to do whatever he wants. Chandler shares in his 2017 Fortune article how Tata's new chairman plans to fix India's biggest company, that there's testimony from Tata's first chairman's successor, Minstry, that he was immediately pressured to approve deals that were not in the group's best interest, and that Tata made more than $3 million in fraudulent payments to fictitious businesses in Singapore and India. He also claims he was asked to grant uncompetitive contracts to Tata's friends. It seems that Tata could easily have taken a Machiavellian approach of the end justifies the means. In the 2017 article, The Unethical Side of Negotiation, we're reminded that business can be fiercely competitive, and many powerful influencers like Tata may pressure well-meaning negotiators to cross that fuzzy, unethical line. One of Buffett's potential self-destructive tendency is his see no evil, hear no evil approach to leading Berkshire Hathaway. Dayan writes in his 2018 special investigation, The Dirty Secrets Behind Warren Buffett's Billions, that following one of the worst financial collapses since the Great Depression, officials from the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission visited Buffett to ask about his 24 million shares in the credit agency Moody's. This commission later identified Moody's as a key enabler of the financial meltdown because they granted super safe AAA ratings to securities that were backed by junk mortgages. During that 2010 meeting, Buffett simply deflected all responsibility for Moody's actions by saying, "I didn't know anything about how Moody was managing their business." When hearing quotes like this, it does make you wonder about a possible hidden agenda or strategy behind all the autonomy that Buffett gives his acquired company leaders. Tata and Buffett come from two very different personal, familial, business backgrounds and cultures. Tata was born into wealth and power, which he leveraged to create something even bigger and more profitable. According to a 2016 article by the Free Press Journal, one of the biggest challenges for Indian businesses is breaking free of their hierarchical organizational structures, which places a low emphasis on team performance and collaboration. In a 2015 essay on Essays UK, Tata is recognized as the most influential business person in India. He's described as a democratic leader who can also demonstrate laissez-faire and autocratic tactics, and once told managers at a meeting that he would continue to trust all of his managers, but once they lose that trust, he'll come after them. This aligns with, as I said earlier, Tata definitely has a charismatic leadership style. He uses his laurels to inspire others, and he leads by example. He's focused much of his innovation efforts on serving the underprivileged with inexpensive cars, low-end products, and budget hotels. The one area where Tata could have improved his organization is, as the Free Press Journal article highlighted, flattening his hierarchical structures and migrating from individual performance to team performance to drive more innovation. Buffett built extraordinary wealth in the U.S., and he continues to build it here. He's a fine example of a super leader. One Mans and Sims describe in their 1991 article, Super Leadership, Beyond the Myth of Heroic Leadership, as possessing the strength and wisdom of many persons by helping to unleash the abilities of followers that surround them. Furthermore, super leaders like Buffett allow people the freedom to do their jobs in the ways that they most value and can thrive in. Buffett also has the ability to influence others through his expert power, often heralded as the most successful investor of all time. In their respective cultures, Tata and Buffett truly exemplify the standards and practices of extraordinary leaders in both business and in society overall. Each have demonstrated their ability and desire to admit mistakes and each speaks the language of their people. Buffett is a red-blooded capitalist and philanthropist. Tata is a legacy leader and cultural icon. Each is revered by their respective followers for good reason.